now that we've gone over all the equipment and how to charge everything up, we need to go and download the Aeroo app. So the Aeroo Fly app is compatible with both tablets and phones, so this will work whether you're on Android or Apple. You can download it from the App Store or from the Google Play Store, depending on your phone. And all we need to do is just type in Aeroo, and the app will come up. Once it comes up, all we need to do is hit download, and now we're ready for the next steps. So now that we've downloaded the Aeroo Fly app, let's turn on our drone and the controller so we're ready to activate once we open the app. Then we can set these to one side. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and open up the app. Now for your first time, you're going to be asked to create an account. So let's hit register now. And now all we need to do is put in our email address, a password, and then we'll get a verification code that's going to be sent to this email address. Once we've got that, we'll put it back in here, agree to the terms and conditions, and then hit register. So let's go ahead and do that now. So once this is done, you'll be prompted to activate the drone and the battery. So we'll go ahead and click activate. Now you may also be required to perform a software update at this stage if you're prompted. If you are, just follow the instructions on the screen and be patient, as sometimes they take around 30 minutes. We'll then hit enter device and it will load up our flight interface. So when we open up the app, we'll see the device status list. This will let us know the connection status of the drone and some pre-flight checks. But we'll X out of this for now, so we're getting the live feed of the camera. So right now we can see a white wall, the drone's on the table, nothing too exciting. But let's take a look around the app and familiarize ourselves with some of the features in here. So up the top left here, we can see Aeroo Pro, which is the device we're connected to. And next to that, we've got an indicator which will tell us what the current status of the drone is in. To the right, we'll see the letter N, which tells us which mode the drone's in. And this corresponds to the button on our controller. So right now we're in normal mode. If we change this to F, which is film mode, or sports mode, those letters will show up here instead. Next to that, we have our signal strength indicators for the drone and also the live feed video. And we'll also see the number of satellites we're connected to up here as well. The drone needs to acquire a safe number of satellites before takeoff, and the more you're connected to, the more stable you will be during flight. And next to that, we'll see the drone's remaining battery percentage. Now in the top right here, we have the settings button. And if we tap into this, we'll have some extra settings we can look through. In the aircraft section, we can control settings related to the aircraft directly. We also have some waypoint settings which we'll run through in a future video. So below this, we have a range of calibration options which assist in keeping the drone stable during flight. The Aeroo Pro doesn't require calibration before every flight, but it will occasionally ask you to calibrate it in areas of high interference. As this is a new drone, we do recommend you calibrate it at least once before your first flight. It's super simple and the app will walk you through the process of how to do it. We'll run through this in our first flight. On a rare occasion, you might be prompted to perform a gyro or IMU calibration. The app will also walk you through how to perform this. So next we have our return to home altitude, and this is an important setting to understand. So this is how high your drone will ascend to before returning back to the takeoff point. Your drone is going to fly to that predetermined height, come back to you, then come straight down and land. So you want to make sure that your height is always set higher than the tallest obstacles around you. Now, by default, the return to home altitude is set to around 20 meters high. If, for example, you have trees around you that are 20 meters high, you would want to make sure your return to home altitude is set higher than that. But again, it's really important to set this depending on the area you're flying in. Below this, we have the AI search for landing pad. When in auto return to home, this will tilt the gimbal down and allow the drone to identify the landing pad for a precise landing. So next, we've got high wind mode. This will increase the maximum tilt of the drone to make it more wind resistant when you're flying. This will also decrease the battery life and the drone stability, so we recommend only using it in high winds or when you're an experienced flyer with the drone. Next, we've got height above the ground below the aircraft. We can use this to toggle the altitude to read relative to the ground below the drone instead of relative to the takeoff point. And at the bottom here, we have a setting to automatically release the payload if remote signal is lost. We recommend having this turned on if you're using the Aeroo Pro for drone fishing, as it increases the chances of a safe return. Next, we have our control settings. Now in joystick settings, we can adjust the sensitivity of the sticks. We tap back out here. We can also set our emergency stop mid-air to any time or failure only. If the drone identifies an issue in flight, pushing the sticks down like this will cause the drone to fall out of the sky. We recommend keeping the disconnected behavior to return to home and enabling payload stability mode. In FPV settings, we can choose between HD and smooth mode. HD will give a high quality but shorter range. For most devices, we recommend keeping anti-flicker off as well. Now in gimbal settings, this is where we can control the response of the gimbal scroll wheel. And in the advanced settings, we can allow upward rotation of the gimbal by 30 degrees. Now if we tap into the map settings, this is how we can customize the map and how it appears in our flight interface. Now if we tap into the battery settings, we're given some more information about each battery cell and the history of the battery. It's important to ensure that the smart low battery warnings is toggled on. Finally, in general, we can run through the walkthrough for the app interface, as well as the version and the details of our drone. Now, if we tap out of the settings, on the top right here, this is our payload release or save drop location button. If we tap on this, we'll get a tip about a safety warning, and you'll also hear the release pin opening on the bottom of the drone. We can also open and close this button with the back route of our controller and the quick attach button on the bottom of the drone. Once we've activated that, we'll see that the graphic has lit up blue, showing us that it's currently in use. If we tap on that button again, we'll have the option to save a drop point. The drop point autopilot feature is really cool, and this will allow you to save previous drop points and program the drone to automatically fly back to these points. This can be super useful if you're using the drone for drone fishing and want to be targeting the same drop location. Below this we have our picture settings, and if we tap on this icon we can adjust our picture settings for how we want our photos and videos to look. Below this we have the camera mode, and we'll either have a photo or video graphic here, which is how we can switch between the photo and video modes in the app. For photo modes we have single shot, continuous shooting, time photos and panorama. And for video modes we have ordinary shooting and portrait mode. Now this button below is how we take photos or start or stop our video. If you do see a small disk graphic here with a cross on it, this is letting you know that you don't have any memory in your drone at the moment, and now's a good time to chuck some in. Below this we have the gimbal horizontal correction. It can be useful if you're capturing some nice aerial shots and need to fix the horizon angle so it's nice and straight. In the bottom right here we have a more options button, and if we tap on that we'll see the gallery button, which is the photo graphic. If we tap on that, we can find all the photos and videos that we've captured on the drone. This does require the drone to be connected and can take some time to load. So next to that here, we'll see some camera settings. Right now we're in auto mode, but if we press this here, we'll open up the pro settings. Now to the left, we've got some more detailed settings we can tap into. So if we click on one of these, we've got our video resolution settings. Next to that, we've got our ISO and shutter settings. And below that, we've also got our SD card, and that'll let us know how much storage we've still got left on there. Now we'll cover some more camera settings in a future tutorial so you can get the most out of your Aeroo Pro. Now to the left here, we've got our distance and height, which is relative to where we took off from, as well as the speed of the drone. Now on the bottom left here, we've got our orientation, which shows us which way the drone's facing. And if we tap on that, we'll bring up a map. And if we tap on that again, we'll bring up the full size map. And this gives us a clear understanding of where the drone is in relation to us. And we can return by tapping to the live feed on the bottom left here. Above that, we've got our auto takeoff button or auto return to home when we're in flight. Above this, we've got our smart flight shooting modes, which we'll cover in a future video. And lastly, on the top left of the screen, we've got our return button. And if we hit that, that'll take us back to the home screen. So now I've got a good understanding of the drone, the controller, the app, and the settings inside. It's time to head out for our first flight.